Just, hey, all right, there we go. Okay. Okay. All right, Katie, you can't see, but we have a room full of 100 autism moms here, and they all watched the video and they saw you a little bit this morning. Okay, so we're happy to have you here. Let's turn, can we kill the rest of the lights? Who's doing lights? Yeah, kill those lights. Off. Yeah, turn them all off. Just so she can see better. They can see you better.
Right.
So Katie, you can't see me, but we can see you. Is there a way for me to do full screen view?
Me?
There. Okay, that's even better. There we go. All right.
Okay. The little whenever I get to that one part that I wanted you to help me do a demonstration.
Oh yeah, we'll have to turn the light.
Can we turn the light on for that?
Yes, we can.
But that's not for a while, so don't worry about it. But just in your head.
When do you? We're gonna do that later, right? We're gonna do that later.
Well, it's kind of midway, so
yeah. So you just let me know, and we'll turn the lights on.
Perfect. Okay, well, so can everybody hear me? I hope so.
Yes.
I am so excited to be here tonight, and I was just really grateful that Cindy invited me here to share what I've learned and a little bit about my story with my son. And anyway, Cindy, I was wondering, can you share with me the results of the poll that you took earlier?
I knew you were gonna ask me that. I gotta go find it. Hold on. Hold on, I got it. Okay, I got it. All right. Okay, guys. Yes. All right. So this is the questionnaire that we gave you that everybody filled out, right? The yes or no to all these questions. I'm going to read the yeses. Okay. All right. Were you separated from a parent? 6 people said yes. Did you have a dysfunctional family or an abusive childhood? 15 people said yes. Did you have to leave home and support yourself through school? 3 people said yes. Have you experienced sexual assault? 2 people said yes. Did you experience an unplanned pregnancy that changed the course of your life? 8 people said yes. Have you ever experienced abuse, physical or emotional, from your partner or spouse? 11 people said yes. Is your child considered nonverbal or non-speaking? 27 said yes. Does your spouse, partner, or child's father participate in the care and therapy for your autistic child? 47 said yes. Hey, I'm impressed. I
am too.
Do you have support from your extended family? 36 people said yes. Okay. I'm not reading the no's though, so okay. Did you experience abandonment by your friends because of your child's diagnosis? 21 people said yes. Have you felt excluded or outcast from your church because of your child's diagnosis? 17 people said yes. That's one of my other missions. I've tried to start special needs ministry in church, and as soon as I told them that they kick, hit, bite, they dropped the whole subject. They didn't want to hear it. Have you felt excluded? Oh, no. Have you felt excluded from society because of your child's diagnosis? 33 people said yes. If you have other children, does autism cause resentment in your other children? 18 people said yes. Have you experienced or are considering a divorce? 16 people said yes. If so, was autism a factor? 9 of those people said yes. If you are single, has your child's autism decreased your chances of finding love? 8 people said yes. Has autism affected your faith negatively? 16 people said yes. Do you see anything good in your child's diagnosis? 40 people said yes. Huh.
Wow.
Do you fear, this is the big one, do you fear the future because of autism? 52 people said yes. Are you financially struggling because of autism? 20 people said yes. Do you feel autism is a thief that has taken everything? 26 people said yes. Do you think God will answer your prayers? 41 people said yes. That's pretty good. Have you lost hope in God? 5 people said yes. Are you angry at God? 13 people said yes. Do you struggle to find anything to live for? 10 people said yes. Okay, Katie.
All right. Wow. Well, first of all, I want to know you to know that for every one of you who said yes to any of those things, I'm just sorry for all the pain that you've carried. I've carried that same pain, and I know it can make you want to give up. The reason I asked Cindy to ask all of those questions earlier is because that's my story. All of those questions, that was a yes to all of those. And I wanted you to know that I can identify with all the different aspects of autism and what it does, not just to your child, but to your life, your future, and your hope. And believe it or not, in spite of all of those things, and I'm really impressed that so many of you are so hopeful. That actually is incredibly encouraging. But I want you to know that I now have incredible expectations for my son, my family, and even myself. And I just hope that y'all will allow me to share a little bit of my journey so I can share with you how I now have so much hope. I grew up with a conservative Christian background and came to faith as a young girl. I believed Christ was God's gift to us, and I lived my life for him, even in the midst of a very difficult childhood. One of the verses that I would cling to was Romans 8:28. All things work together for the good of those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. And for me, it was a verse of hope that in any situation or trial, I could trust God to bring good out of it. And in many other heartbreaks, I did. But then there was autism, and my son's autism is severe. So no matter how many times I tried to find the silver lining, I just couldn't see that any good was possible. My son, Houston, is my second child out of 5. I had all 5 children in 6 years, and every bit of their care was on me. When Houston was 8 months old, after his DTP Hib shot, he developed ITP, immune thrombocytopenic purpura, which that is an autoimmune disease where his body was killing off his blood platelets, among other things. And although I didn't know it, this was the beginning of his descent into autism, into his silent prison. And over the next few months, I would watch powerless in horror as he began to lose skills he once had. He could no longer clap his hands, roll a ball, play patty cake, or even look at me. And as he began to become mobile, he would run away constantly, often, of course, directly towards traffic, throw himself into every single body of water, strip naked, eat and drink obsessively, squint his eyes oddly. He would be like this and press his hands tight against his ears like this. He would refuse to be held. He would fast forward and rewind Disney videos over and over and over and over, scream, bite himself furiously, and almost never sleep. And he destroyed every room he entered in ways I never even imagined a room could be destroyed. He completely ignored me, and that broke my heart. He had multiple brushes with death, including being hit by a truck. But the worst was the poop.
The poop.
He had chronic diarrhea and would smear feces on everything every single day. And that part of my life is difficult to talk about. It went on like that for years. Like I'm sure many of you in this similar type of situation, I prayed and I begged God for a miracle for years. And I researched everything I could. And this, by the way, was pre-Google. There were no search engines. It was the wild, wild web. And I was researching everything I could. And I tried every single treatment protocol that I could find. As you all know, well, some of you haven't, so I'm very impressed, but It takes a really long time to give up hope on your child. But nothing helped, and no prayer was answered. And I just couldn't see any good that was coming from all this loss. And I felt unheard, hopeless. It was in this environment that I began to doubt that if that promise of God that all things work together for good was true or even possible. I just didn't see how God could work good out of so much pain that not only didn't stop or slow down, but kept getting worse. And after I let doubt creep into my thoughts, that's when fear started to take over. I became very fearful. The future, obviously, more than anything. And doubt led me to questioning if God was even real, or if I just believed in him because that's what I was taught. Or even worse, maybe he was real, but he just didn't care about me or my son or our pain. Maybe, I'm not sure, but maybe some of you can identify with this. The verse in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest," felt like a promise for other people. I came to him, and there was definitely no rest. And what about the promise to heal the brokenhearted? My heart was shattered. And then Hebrews 4:15-16, "For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who's been tempted in all things as we are, yet without sin. Therefore, let us draw near with confidence to the throne of grace so that we may have mercy or receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need." That verse actually hurt. I didn't see my Savior healing, answering, bringing peace or rest, or sympathizing with anything I had gone through, or answering any need. And I felt abandoned and alone. All his promises were just for other people. Eventually, I became a single mom, and my son's autism prevented us from experiencing so much of what people call normal life. And I'm sure y'all have an experience similar to that. My other children resented me, their brother, our lives, and they hated everything about autism and all it took from us. He had been diagnosed with severe autism, intellectually disabled, with the comprehension of a 2 to a 3-year-old. Translation: no hope ever. Every year at every IEP, the goals stayed the same. There was no progress. Sometimes people would ask me if my son was like Rain Man, does he have any cool savant abilities? And I would roll my eyes and say, no, he has the fecal smearing kind of autism, the getting naked all the time autism, the running away autism, eating everything inside autism, the repeating Disney phrases until we all want to scream autism, the making awful noises in the middle of the night autism. No, he's not a savant. And that's how life was for a long time. When he was 17, I was working 3 jobs to make ends meet. I was also getting my yoga certification. And in the process of this training, we were all told to give an intention. Inwardly, I rolled my eyes. I knew people don't want to hear the truth about how hard our lives are. So I gave my vague intention, and without intending to, I added sarcastically, "Oh, and I would like bad things to stop happening." And they actually challenged me. They had the audacity to ask, "Well, why would you say that?" And I was undaunted in my doubt and my pain, self-pity for sure. And I replied, "I know about belief. Beliefs are built on experiences. We believe what we have experienced. And that's what I've experienced. Why would I believe anything else?" And the teacher replied thoughtfully, "But good has just as much of a chance of happening as bad." And I was not convinced. So she continued to challenge my doubt. And eventually she encouraged me to at least be open to good happening in my life. And I remember as I began to try to utter the words, I expect, they got stuck in my throat. I swallowed the words. I actually couldn't say it. There was too much certainty, too much assurance. I quickly substituted hope. And I said, I hope good things will happen. And honestly, even that was weak. So that week was Thanksgiving. On that Wednesday night, I got home exhausted and I laid down on the couch, not even able to sleep. I was so fatigued, my body was buzzing. I couldn't even actually rest. And Houston came down and sat at the end of the couch next to my feet, perfectly still. And that was odd because he never sat on the couch. He rarely sat at all. He never wanted to be with us. And he was always isolating himself in his room with his videos. But to be still, that was unheard of. There was no hand flapping, no loud booming noises, no Disney scripting, no rocking. And I knew it was odd, but I was honestly too tired to even comment about it. Then he reached over and very intentionally tugged at the blanket like you would to get someone's attention. I opened my eyes and he stared directly into mine like he hadn't since he was a baby. And then he said, Mama, I love you. And his voice was perfectly clear, the voice of a young man, not the autism voice with, the nasally sound or the guttural undertones. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. I had waited 17 years to hear those words out of those lips. I can't even begin to tell you the joy I was experiencing in that moment. His brother, who was sitting in the chair next to us, said in shock, did that just happen? In that moment, I was given a choice to believe in a miracle, the miracle I longed for, or to only focus on what I could see. And so I chose to believe. I chose to ignore experts and test and believe in a miracle. And I want you to know you have that choice too. I'm about to walk you through the miracle that I received, and I want you to know that you have the exact same choice that I had, no matter what it is you're facing. And the question I want you to ask yourself is, do you have the courage to believe in spite of stimming, nakedness, poop, screaming, and all the rest that we all know well, and whatever it is specifically that might be preventing you from believing? And just think about that for a second. So I can't see your tables right now, but I want everyone to pick something up off the table. Doesn't matter what it is. Pick anything up that's right next to you. It can be a piece of paper, a pen, a glass, a fork, lipstick in your purse. It doesn't matter. Just pick something up. All right, you're holding it, I hope. All right, I want you to ask yourself, what was that thing in your hand before it was that thing in your hand? And some of you might be sitting there thinking about the raw material that was used to make that thing. That's usually the answer I get. But I'll tell you what it was. It was an idea. It was a thought. Now's the second question. If someone had never had that idea, that thought to make that thing, would it exist? No, it wouldn't. You see, our thoughts, our beliefs are incredibly powerful. and they actually have the power to change our circumstances. Things come into being from our thoughts. Now, for almost 5 years, I kept believing in my miracle with absolutely nothing else to cling to except that one miraculous moment when my son called my name and told me he loved me. And no, he didn't do it again. Life was just as hard as it had always been. But something had changed. I would not let my circumstances touch that one hope I still had. I certainly let it affect everything else, but not that. I clung to that belief in spite of everything. People would, do the, oh, what are you going to do when he gets older? And I would tell them that I'm expecting a miracle. And they would go, oh, poor thing. And that's okay. And then it happened. God brought a family into our lives that we had known years earlier. And their son was very similar to Houston. And they began to tell me that they had found a way for their son to communicate. And the way they described it, it didn't seem like all the other failed therapies from all those years of trying. And his son's body was just as difficult as Houston's. Because we do a lot of comparing. Well, your son's not as severe as mine, or that's why that would work. But his son's body was difficult, just like Houston's. And the father started speaking to Houston like Houston understood what he was saying. And no one had ever spoken to Houston that way before. So I was dumbfounded. I didn't know what was going on. And then this father began to explain to me that our kids understand everything and they just have no motor control. He said, for example, my son kept saying, park, park, park. And of course, we kept taking him to the park. But once he was able to communicate, he spelled out for his dad, I know I keep saying park. I don't want to go to the park. I just can't stop saying it. Do you know how stupid we felt? I'm just sitting there in shock at the whole thing. What was going on? And I looked at their son, and he stood there staring me down like the way you speak when no words are even possible. And I just knew in my soul, I knew what he was saying was true. And so that young man communicated through a method called RPM, Rapid Prompting Method. Basically, because they lack the ability to initiate motor, you coach their gross motor so they can point to each letter and spell out words. And you start the process using a teach-ask system, which means you teach them something and ask them a question about something you just taught them. So it's shared knowledge. And then you progress to more open questions. Eventually, they're able to move beyond lessons to spelling out their own thoughts and communicating fluently. And there's a lot of nuances to that, but that just sums it up. So when I asked this young man to share his thoughts with me, he began spelling right in front of me. And this is what he spelled. And he was spelling like this. It was so crazy. It was amazing to watch him. It is life-changing. And that is an understatement. Houston needs a voice. We all do. Don't let time or money deter you. Don't let the fact that you tried a zillion interventions over the years that haven't worked make you gun shy. This is the real deal, and it works. It is not a cure. We don't need a cure. We need a chance to live a life as who we are. I'm certain Houston is as excited for you to meet him as you will be. We are great people. We just need the same opportunities to be known that everyone gets effortlessly. I'm so glad you came and have an open mind. So I decided right then that Houston was going to get a voice. And so we started the process. I was, as Houston says, a beast. I was very pushy. I'm sure some of you are pushy moms, and we have to be, because what's at risk is everything. And at that very first lesson, Houston was asked by the coach what her name was after she had introduced herself. And I watched in shock with my hands over my mouth as my 21-year-old son began spelling out her name, then the name of the school where we were at. I didn't even know that he knew how to spell. He then proceeded to spell out the answers to questions regarding a lesson on Edward Shackleton, who's the first explorer to the Antarctic. You could see this fire in his eyes, and I was sobbing. It was all tears in mine. I was just in shock. How had this been in there all this time? So I started doing lessons with him every single day. I pushed and pushed and pushed him, knowing that this was the miracle that I believed in. And his body was really weak. I don't want you guys to get the idea that this is easy, because it's not. It's very, very hard. They have such little control that training their gross motor is a big challenge. He had a hard time even pointing at times or making contact with the letters. It would be like just pointing to one letter would look like that. It was very, very hard. He would bite himself during the lessons. He would lean away from me and I would pull him back. And then after a while, I was trying to transition him from 3 boards to 1 board that had all 26 letters on it. And my friend was helping me. And so she did a lesson on the history of the t-shirt. And he answered all the different questions. At the end of the lesson, she asked him, if you could put any slogan on a t-shirt, what would it be? And Houston spelled IMINHERE. I'm in here. I want you to know right now that the same is true of every single one of your children, no matter what their body looks like, no matter how difficult their body is. Every single one of them is fully in there. They understand everything. It's just their body that's broken. They are not intellectually disabled. They are completely aware of everything that happens around them and everything that happens to them. They have a brain-body disconnect, a sensory motor disconnection, and likely several other neurological issues that make controlling their body and communicating extremely difficult. After he spelled out, I'm in here, I was relentless. All I wanted to do every day was spell with my son. I wanted to know him. I'd spent 21 years not getting to know my son, and I was going to know him. But it was exhausting for him. And I really began to see the lack of control he had, and the gigantic differences in energy that he was experiencing. The other thing that I began to realize was the expanse of what he knew. And this was shocking to me because he had only been in a self-contained classroom and received the exact same preschool education the entire time he had been in there. And he was about to age out. He turned 22 just a couple months after this, after he spelled I'm in here. And I didn't understand, where did he get all of this knowledge? He had a photographic memory. He started spelling out the Declaration of Independence and the Gettysburg Address. He knew history, literature, current events. He had opinions about politics and a deep, abiding faith. I was absolutely stunned discovering everything that he knew, and I was in love learning his heart, getting to know him. I also wanted to understand why he couldn't control his body. What was actually going on? Why did he always look at the ground? Why did he flap his hands? Why did he seem to have such a high pain tolerance? Why was he obsessed with water? Why was he obsessed with fast forwarding and rewinding Disney videos? Why did he eat strange things? Why did he have to hold sticks in his hands? Why did he always plug his ears like he was in pain? Why did he bite himself and repeat what people said? And he mentioned many things that had me puzzled. I didn't understand what he was talking about. He kept referring to his blindness and his alternating eyes. He said his mind and body were not connected. He explained he would watch his body doing things and be horrified and heartbroken and deeply embarrassed. And that it was like living inside an enemy combatant. Those are his words. That's how he described it. He said his mind would force his mouth to say things, and also that images would bomb his mind. He said he held sticks to feel where his hands were and flapped his hands to help him see. He told me he wanted heavy boots because he felt like he was falling out of the bottom of his feet. He said he hated soft food because he couldn't feel where his tongue was. He told me he hummed to himself on some of those noises to calm himself and focus his mind. He said foul smells, certain taste, music, scenes from Disney and other videos gave him this incredible addictive high. In fact, he said that most of autism could be explained in drug-like battles, but his mind is what actually produced the hallucinogenic drug. He explained that being in water was the only time where he could feel his whole body at once. He also said that being forced to learn preschool material year after year after year was not only insulting, but made it very difficult to continue to hope. He made me promise to make him stop stimming, which was a very big challenge. We're still continuing. And especially from watching Disney videos. He said no matter what he did, I could not let him watch those videos because he was addicted. And he told me that he wanted me to read to him adult material. He also said he knew he had athletic ability, but he couldn't access it. He had no way. He said it would just come on him and his body would just excel, but then he wouldn't be able to start or stop it. He also explained that he could see music and hear light, and that he could see the math everywhere involved with motion. And that he even went with I obviously am not all that, I'm just average at math. I got a math professor because he was talking about math that was far more complex than anything I had ever done. And he sat down with this math professor and completed integrals and calculus. Now that's pretty astounding because he had only been taught single digit addition, which also meant I had been wrong. He wasn't just smart, he actually was a savant. I was wrong about everything. The other thing he mentioned during this was he explained that his hearing was the most painful, that he could hear everything. So he'd given me quite a bit to try to figure out. So I began to research, and I found professionals in different fields that each offered a clue as to what was going on. First, I wanted to understand how the brain typically functions and why their brains were so different. So the normal function of the brain is a sensory motor loop. That's what you and I experience all day long, every day. So your brain receives sensory information, it processes it, it coordinates a motor response, it then executes the motor response, and then receives additional sensory input. And that's what's going on constantly. Without that neurotypical sensory motor loop that uses appropriate input and appropriate output, the autistic brain finds other ways to loop, because that's what the brain does. That's what it's built to do. And often these loops can become addictive, and they can take over their impulse control. And because of their inability to control their body, which is the neurological sensory motor disintegration, they're not integrated. Because of that, they're denied basic human rights, treated like a toddler, isolated from society, trapped in their own body with no voice. And I know each of you have a child who's unique, and they may not be dealing with every single one of these challenges or experiencing all of these different injustices. But it's still important to understand and be able to have compassion for those whose bodies are much less integrated, and also to understand some of the unique ways that maybe some of these issues are affecting your child. The important thing to understand is it's not behavior, it's neurology. So when they're trapped in their own body with no voice, they don't even have a way to explain to anyone what the problem is. And the only escape they have is their fantastic senses, which often lead them to Never Never Land and creating this sensory high that they use to distract themselves from all the pain in their lives. So one of the other more really important things that I learned was about motor. So this is where we're going to get into some fun neurology. And don't be scared. I'll try to break it down for y'all. It was all new to me too, so I'm teaching you just like I learned it. So there's 4 basic different types of motor, and there are certainly nuances, but this is just the big picture. So depending on the type of motor is actually dependent on what part of the brain triggers the motor impulse. So there are reflexes, right? And we all know what reflexes are. Those neural pathways are very short and very fast. Mirror neurons can actually be included in this type of motor. So this is where we imitate or we mirror the motor of someone else, and we do it unconsciously all the time. So if someone smiles at us, we smile back without even thinking about it. We just do it, and that's a mirror neuron. So all of the things that our kids copy, repeat, or loop, those are not their thoughts. Those are the mirror neurons firing because they can't stop or control or change or insert a different motor in place of the one that's firing. They just don't have enough control to do that. So the next type of motor is impulsive motor. It sounds exactly like what it is. So this is motor that provides a sensory stimulation. So these neural pathways are incredibly short and fast. And obviously they those motor, you see the kid grabbing things and putting things in, you know, doing these, but those are the reason those motors are so fast is because they're providing that sensory stimulation, part of that addiction, or that just stimulation that they need to even feel themselves. So that's why that motor exists. The next kind is called myelinated motor. So myelinated motor is motor that has been done so many times that there is insulation on the motor neural pathway. So it creates a very wide and fast connection, like a wide lane superhighway. This is the equivalent of doing an activity so many times that you don't even think about it, like you're on autopilot. An example would be pulling into your driveway and then suddenly realizing that you don't even remember driving home, but somehow you got home. That's myelination. You had done that activity so many times that you didn't have to contribute any thought into the process at all. Your body, your motor took over. And finally, there is intentional motor. So intentional motor is processed in the frontal lobe. And these motor pathways are very long, very slow. Often, these motor pathways have to be formed in the brain like they're breaking new ground. So we've all had that experience where you have to learn a new skill or a dance step, or maybe, you know, in school it was, you know, a science formula or a math equation, and how it actually hurts your head as you're learning and you feel awkward and clumsy and you're slow at first. I'm really bad with telling my right from my left, and this is horrible for me because I always use the wrong foot and go the wrong way. The whole class is going one way, I'm going the other way. That's how it is for me. So, that is intentional motor. And it's what is required for any new activity that's intentional, authentic, original movement. And this is the reason why that individuals like my son can say things that they've been taught rotely to say. Like he would respond if someone said, "How are you?" And he would go, "I am fine." It's because he's been taught to say that. Or how they'll repeat others, where someone may say, "How are you?" And he would go, "How are you?" But then he can't communicate his thoughts. So it's a different type of motor. So the short, fast neural pathways fire long before an intentional motor pathway can execute. The issue is that we observing think, "Oh, that's what he said. That must be what he means. That must be all he's thinking." But it's not. It's not at all. So now I'm going to go through some of the different specialists that I met with and all the different things they taught me. And it is incredible. And I just have to let you know that our guide, the way he made us, it is absolutely fascinating how complex we are. And just all the detail that he put into creating a mind and body to work together and to function in a world that he made as well. It's just fascinating. So the first specialist that I met with was a myofunctional therapist. And this therapist explained that Houston had apraxia and a reverse swallow. So apraxia is a neurological disorder that's characterized by the loss of the ability to execute or carry out skilled movements and gestures, despite having both the desire and the physical ability to perform them. So not only does this condition prevent intentional planned motor, it prevents intentional speech. What people don't realize is speech is 100% motor, 100%. And it actually requires 7 different body systems working together to generate intentional speech. And motor has absolutely nothing to do with intelligence or competence. It has 0 to do with it. You see, the part of the brain that comprehends language is called the Wernicke's area of the brain. And the part of the brain that forms the responsive thought to what you understand, that's the Broca's area of the brain. And then there's this set of sensory motor cortexes that connect them, and it's called the arcuate fasciculus. And this is the part of the brain that actually takes that responsive thought in the Broca's area, and it organizes the thoughts and coordinates the jaw, the tongue, the lips, the cheeks, and the breath to create the sounds that we recognize as language. It's involved in processing sensory information, planning neural impulses that direct motor, as well as initiating, sequencing, because they all have to be in a certain order, and also choreographing all the motor that's necessary to make those sounds that we use to communicate. Now, Cindy, this is where I'm going to need you to stand up or to turn the lights on and get a volunteer.
Okay, who can turn the lights on for me? Okay.
All right. So,
Okay.
yeah, I had also,
Can't see the screen so well, but that's okay. Go ahead.
So I also learned his reverse swallow affected his entire body. What people don't realize is the tongue is connected directly into the brainstem. And it's one of the few parts of the body that's connected into both the right and left hemispheres of the brain. So in normal development, the tongue is pressed into the roof of the mouth. Once you go through your infantile nursing, the tongue rises to the top of the mouth and presses into the roof of the mouth. And when it does that, it stimulates the right and left hemispheres to work together. It uses isometric pressure, so the right and left hemispheres are always working together. So due to his tongue being in the wrong position, the integration between the left and right hemisphere and all the accompanying ability to coordinate motor did not develop normally. Now I'm going to give you an example of how incredible the tongue is. So, Cindy, can you get a volunteer?
In the room.
Yes, let's get the good-looking, strong guy with the tattoo.
Don't get the strong guy. Get a woman. I want a woman. Yeah, don't get a strong guy. I want a woman.
Okay, woman. Okay, let's get a woman.
I'm not that strong.
Come on over here where we can see on the camera too. Okay. You want to
Hi there. Hi.
Stand
So
or
you can
sit?
stand up.
Yeah,
You can
stand up.
stand up so everybody can see you.
Back here. Okay.
All right. It's nice to meet you, by the way. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to just
Giselle. Okay, this is
hold
Giselle.
your arm.
Can you hear me? This is Giselle.
Giselle, it's really nice to meet you.
Okay.
So
Okay, what do you want her to do?
Giselle, if you could hold your arm out just like this. Perfect. Now, Cindy, what I would like for you to do is to go down, and I want you to press and push her arm down. But Giselle, I want you to resist. I want you to use all your energy to resist her as she presses the arm down. Okay?
Okay.
Are you pressing down? Can you get it down?
Yeah.
Push, push. Very nice. I thank you, Giselle, for being really good at this. Now, and don't feel silly, but I want you to do this. Now raise your arm up. Now, Cindy, press her arm down.
Want to try that again?
Try it with your arm,
First
with
this,
your
I
mouth
promise.
closed again.
Yeah, we did not. Yeah, you want to? Everybody stand up and try it.
Do it
Hurry
with
up,
your friend.
hurry up. Okay, I want to try it now.
Okay.
Here, let me turn here.
Everybody's.
Okay, guys, everybody's done. And we're good. We have time to meet Houston too, so let's get back to it. Okay. Do you want me to turn the lights down? Out
Yes,
now
you
again?
can turn them
Okay.
back down.
All right, we
Sure.
should start again. Thank you.
So anyway, now you've actually gotten to experience how much control your tongue has over your whole body. And a lot of times the tongue is a big issue in why they're having motor issues. That's just one of the issues. So the next therapist that I went to see was a vision specialist. And when this vision specialist examined Houston, she found he saw triple of everything, and it moved. All the images that he saw moved. She was examining him. She asked me, she said, does he lean to the left when he's spelling? I was shocked that she knew that. And I said, how do you know that? And she explained it was his eyes, that his eyes would suppress. He would have alternating blindness from eye to eye, but that it was worse in his right eye. And so he leaned to the left to compensate for the lack of vision in his right eye. So, and for me, it was eye-opening. Y'all like my pun? For me to realize that what I had interpreted as him wanting to pull away from me, I had interpreted that as disinterest, was actually him trying to cope with eye suppression. And I began to sit there and think, and just my mind was like, oh my goodness, how many other things have I misinterpreted? Have I thought was one thing when was actually his body trying to do something else? She also explained that he would look at the ground to try to stabilize himself. Which honestly, if I saw 6 eyes and they were moving and someone told me to look in their eyes, I wouldn't look at anyone. I would definitely look at the ground. And if you think about it, the ground's the only thing that's it's not moving, it's stable. So it gives them some sense of security. So there was obviously a lot more to still learn. And I learned that his ability to see music and hear light and process complicated mathematical equations was something called synesthesia. So synesthesia is the blending of senses in the mind. One set of sensory information comes in, but it actually stimulates multiple sensory processing areas. So the senses blend. That's how they experience it. Let's see. Next was the functional neurologist. Don't be scared by the big words. I'm going to explain it, okay? So he explained that Houston's vision issues and the impact that this was having on his motor. Vision plays a very critical role involving motor, especially something called saccades and pursuits. These particular motor movements of the eyes actually help plan the larger gross and even fine motor movements. The brain starts to take in this information in the eyes and also in the ears, and it processes them in an organ in our brain called the vestibular organ. So I'll explain the vestibular organ in a second. But what you need to understand is if the information that's coming into the eyes and the ears is sent to the vestibular organ and it's incorrect, it's either too much or too little, or it's imbalanced, then the vestibular organ has no way to correctly communicate to the body, where it is. And that's where we're going to talk about vestibular. So the vestibular system is it's our most primal sense that we have. We developed that one, and it has a critical function to play in our entire lives. So what it is it functions as your body's global positioning system. It's how you know where you are in space. It's just like if a pilot was flying a plane and he couldn't tell where he was, couldn't find a horizon, or it couldn't read the stars, or he would have no way of navigating. And the same is true with our bodies. If we don't know where we are, if we don't have a focal point, we have no way of navigating. So I want you to think of a newborn baby. So you remember how when you take the blanket off of them or you pick them up, they all go like this, and they look like they're free falling and they're terrified. So that is a young body that's trying to learn where it is. That's the vestibular system starting to acclimate. So without that ability to know your position, planning your motor is extraordinarily difficult. And it's why they rely so much on copying other people, because they can't figure it out for themselves. The only point they have of reference is other people. So in Houston, his body had no sense of where he was in space. And so he was always moving. And he would also hold on to his stomach like this. And it was because he literally couldn't feel where he was. He was trying to sense where his body was. It was also why he struggled to follow verbal directions, and why he couldn't initiate his own intentional movements. So the other important role that the vestibular system does is it communicates to the proprioceptive system. Now, again, don't be intimidated by the big words. What that is it's the system that tells your muscles and joints how much force to use. So have you ever gone to pick up a cup and there was less liquid in there than what you thought, what you sensed? And so you picked it up and it went like this, and you're like, oh gosh, I guess it's empty, but you thought it was full. So you had used actually more force than was necessary. So that's your proprioceptive system, and it uses sensory input to change the amount of force that it uses. So what happens in our kids is, because the vestibular system can't really communicate any decent information to the proprioceptive system, they have no idea if they're using too much or too little. And sometimes you have kids that use too much force. And unfortunately, this is labeled as aggression or a behavior, but it's not. And then you have other kids that don't use hardly any, and they're called lazy, or they're called, oh, they don't even understand what you're saying to them. And it's not that either. They just have no way to sense how much force is required or how much they are even using. They can't even tell how much they're using. All right, so in addition to this was Houston, go ahead and sit down. You'll be in here later. You'll be in here later. He's excited. So in addition to that was something called global neuropathy, which that's where your the nerve fibers in Houston's skin were not taking in enough stimuli from the environment. And this is why he seemed to have such a high pain tolerance, or didn't seem to react to other stimuli that other people would. When I went to the audiologist to get these special earplugs for his painful hearing, she explained that he had traits of hyperacusis, but mostly a condition called misophonia. So hyperacusis is an extreme sensitivity to frequencies. Misophonia is a neurological condition that certain frequencies or sounds actually trigger the amygdala and limbic system. That is your flight, fight response in the brain. So let me give you an example of how that works. It's similar to how we dislike, fingernails on a chalkboard, except they're having that kind of a guttural, reaction, except their reaction is more intense and the number of sounds that triggers them is extensive. Houston's gonna hang out, sorry. Just go ahead, have a seat. All right. Combined with Houston's visual impairments, his hearing was having an acute effect on the rest of his body. So both the overload and the underload of sensory information in his brain that his brain was trying to process, as well as the lack of integrated sensory and motor processing, resulted in his vestibular and proprioceptive systems not functioning even remotely how they're designed to function. So this was in addition to this constant state of anxiety and addiction that he lived in. Yeah. The audiologist also told me that scientists were beginning to theorize that in autistics that had so many comorbidities and a lack of control, that there was actually no divide between their conscious and their subconscious, that they were aware of everything. And you can just imagine for a minute, it's too much. It's too much for anyone. I only have a few more technical things to go through, and then I'll get into some really fun stuff. So the thalamus also plays a very important role in processing and relaying all of these motor and sensory signals. And the multiple cortexes in the brain that plan and coordinate and initiate all this voluntary movement is all based on the sensory input that they receive. So while they're receiving either wrong information, too much information, or no information, what we as the outsider observes is a body that uses too much pressure, not enough pressure, or just doesn't react at all. And that's because it's not getting the correct feedback for those neurological loops that are required for spatial awareness and motor planning. But the sensations they do receive often trigger that sensitive amygdala and limbic system. And when it's activated, that overrides that cortical frontal lobe. So they're not able to stop any of their motor as long as the amygdala and limbic system are triggered. So all of that is just incredibly overwhelming. And it helps you, I hope, understand why communication is so difficult and why controlling their body is so difficult, especially stopping their stems. It takes every ounce of energy, and not energy like we understand. So because they have such little ability to control their physical body, they live most of their life in their etheric body. And that's their true self. That's all of our true selves. And at the same time, they're very vulnerable to all the fluctuations and subtle changes in energy, and that these drain them or they overwhelm them. Let me give you an example of what that looks like. So normal sensory input, we all learn this in school, it's texture, light, sound, taste, smells. So, and for them, in their environment, they do not process those the same way our brain processes them. In their body and in their mind, it's what it's called nociceptive or noxious stimuli. What that basically means is toxic. So they have high tolerances to pain, including temperature or other harmful sensory input. But then extreme sensitivity to other types of input. It's like how a normal sound to them is excruciating, but also how hot water in a shower, which feels good to us, he explained it that it felt like 1,000 hot needles poking his scalp. It's because it's the same sensory input, but it's processed differently. So they have a different experience. Now, this has several different, reactions and results on their body, and it's very primal because they can't feel their position in space. That triggers anxiety. And think like falling off a building, kind of fright. And then there's functional. You can't control your body or initiate movement or experience pain in different ways. And then emotional. People treat you like you're incompetent or a behavior problem because you have a body you can't control. And you have no method to effectively communicate your experience. And I want to just take a moment here to say that even if your child can communicate, they may still be experiencing a lot of these different issues in a different level. And we need to do everything we can to find out what they're experiencing so that we can interpret how their body's reacting appropriately. Houston's life was a constant barrage of unseen physical, neurological, and emotional agony. And yet all the experts would do was create a behavior plan. You don't have a problem, you are a problem. But I want to take a moment to share with you what they actually experience, because what they experience is more than we can even imagine. It's greater. It's even greater than understanding all of the neurology or all the sensory or even the motor. One day, I was answering, or I was doing lessons with Houston, and Houston was answering history question after history question after history question. And I finally was like, how do you know so much? And he paused before he spelled and he said, I am special. And of course, I was like a mom, and I'm like, of course you are. He was not amused. And then he spelled, I can hear thoughts. This disbelief, that was my response, as well as to ask him if he was lying. And he said, you don't get the kinds of gifts I have if you lie. So I was in shock. So I tested him, and he did it over and over again. And I called other moms who had children who used RPM to communicate, and their answer is yes. All of those who are non-speaking or unreliably speaking have this ability. Yes, that means that your child has heard all your thoughts, good and bad, all of them. And yes, I had the same shock and guilt that maybe some of you are having as you're hearing this. And what he had heard was everything. And that was just the beginning. You see, the way their brains work, they're taking in far more than you and I are. And he can feel the energy all around us. And he's affected by many things that we can't see, like changes in gravitational forces, phases of the moon, radiation, EMFs, Wi-Fi. Emotion is also energy. That's actually what the word means. It means energy in motion, emotion. And he continually explained to me how my anger and doubt had made it so that he couldn't control his body. My son was not just hearing my thoughts, he was feeling all of my feelings. I know right now some of you are starting to sit there and think about moments where your child, you may have been feeling angry or hurt or depressed or something, and your child seemed to start acting out. That's what that was. Neurotypicals perceive 4% of the actual energy around us. And I don't even have any idea how much our children are perceiving. Even those that have more control over their body, they are perceiving more energy than a neurotypical, which explains some of the reasons why they become so frequently overwhelmed and are anxious or have other or want to stay away. It's not because they don't want to be social. It's because it's too much. So much of their dysregulation actually comes from what they're feeling, what they're sensing, or the thoughts and feelings of others, or everything else that is unseen. And then you add onto that the additional burden of not being able to communicate how their body actually works or what they're experiencing. That's a lot. That's a lot for anyone. But Houston shared even more. You see, Houston can see, hear, and sense the spiritual realm. He sees angelic beings. He sees people's auras, which he explained to me is actually their spirit. So he actually sees who the person is. And he's seen heaven. And then I learned that he wasn't the only one who has. All of those late nights when he wouldn't sleep, he'd been experiencing the supernatural. He began sharing his gifts and his experiences in detail. And then I was overwhelmed that my son, who had never been taught the Bible, started sharing details of heaven that matched scriptures that he had never read. One of his friends, who has some but not all of the same abilities, asked Houston if he sees the dark and the light or just the light. Houston's response was, I see everything. Neurotypicals believe. I've seen. When you've seen what I've seen, there is no doubt. Now let me explain something important. Something incredible to understand because it's going to change how you think and what you think forever. Remember how I explained that those objects on your table came into existence because of thought? That's because thought is a thing, an actual energy that has power to affect energy and create change. Their minds just work like Verizon cell towers, receiving and transmitting more than ours. But our thoughts and energy, the thoughts and energy in our mind, affect and impact change in our lives. The night that Houston showed me he could hear thoughts, I had this, sudden realization that, oh my goodness, thoughts are things. That means they're energy. And guess what? That means they abide by the laws of energy, as just like all the other energy. And what that means is the very first law of energy is the law of conservation. And it means simply that energy cannot be lost, that it can only be transferred. And we think of thoughts as just these things in our heads that come in and go. But they aren't. They're energy, and they play a role in shaping our lives. And in God's word, he told us to mind our thoughts, that we become what we think. So these thoughts that we have, they are faith, or they are doubt, they are life, or they are death, they are love, or they are everything that distracts us from what truly matters in life. I think we've all experienced like how having a negative thought literally will like slow us down and depresses our bodies and stops us from doing good. While a positive thought uplifts us, gives us energy, and helps us to love others and do more good in all the ways that we can. Yet, how many times do we give in to the negative thoughts, the doubt, and let them tell us what the future will be instead of the positive thoughts, the faith, and listen and believe the promises of God? There are over 7,000 promises in his word for us, and we need to start believing them. Over and over in his word, actually 365 times, God tells us to trust him and not fear, to believe him, not our circumstances, that all things were possible if we believe, that we could tell a mountain to move and it would be, and it would move if we believed it. And so you have to stop there and think for a second, why would he say such things? Why would he go on and on about this? And he who was the word, who actually all things were made through, he was teaching us the principle of faith and how he made his world work. And faith works because God's promises are real. And our faith is how we receive them. And just like with anything, we don't receive what we don't believe, but we do receive what we do believe. So believe him. Believe his word. Take him exactly at his word. If he says he can move a mountain, then who are we to doubt it, right? So these things, faith and doubt, love, and all the ugly forms of hate and bitterness, are not just thoughts and feelings. They are the actual unseen, mysterious forces of the universe. And you, by your love and faith, have the power to change the world.
Hi, Houston.
And as I learned all this,
Hi, Houston.
say hey.
Hey.
So, so speaking of believing, we're gonna do a little test.
Oh, sure thing.
Yeah, let's do that test and we're gonna show everybody.
Let me grab a board.
Hours, I'm gonna say.
I've got a board. I've
Can
got
we turn the lights on? Yeah, just
all right,
half.
hold on a second.
Just
I'm going to
enough
move
that
the
they can
camera.
change it. Yeah, perfect. Okay, let me shut this up.
All
Okay.
right, Houston, let's trade seats so I can turn. Let's trade seats because they've got to see the board. So you sit here, turn around. You turn this way. Okay, turn around.
They're gonna show, yeah.
I got a little.
Okay.
There you go. He's got a blindfold on. Okay, go ahead. Turn around. Put that back down.
All right, how do you want to do it?
Just if you can have somebody do a random word generator.
Okay, who wants to do it? Somebody with their phone. Okay, here, come on over with your phone. I don't want to do it because I don't want you to think that we set this up or anything, okay? But yeah, pull out your phone and what's a random word generator?
So all you have to do is put in, just Google random word generator. Just do
Okay.
that.
Just hit, okay, good. Yeah, hit random word generator. Yep. Okay.
Okay.
All right, go show everybody that word. Go
Nope.
show everybody that word. Don't say it out loud.
Don't say it.
Just
Please don't
look.
say it.
Okay, just look, just show people what this random word is. Okay? Don't say it. Okay. Okay, everybody shush. Okay, now do you want me to text you that word?
Just text it to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Here's my phone.
Let me make sure I'm typing the right word here. Correct? Correct? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. well, I know you can't see it, but anyway, here's the phone.
On the bottom of it, pull it away a little bit. You can't really see it. All we see is a light.
Okay. All right. Well,
It's okay. It doesn't
anyway.
matter. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, Houston, take your blindfold off. Take your blindfold off. Ready? All right. So what word did she just text? Can y'all see? Can y'all see the board?
Yes.
Okay. What word did she just text me?
E.
Oh, you couldn't see.
Hold on.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Ready?
Yeah, we can't really see. Turn him sideways so we can see.
You
a
know
little
what? I've got a better idea. Hold on.
Okay.
I've got a bigger board.
Okay.
Big one.
Mhm.
Ready?
Yeah. Okay. Hold it. Yeah.
I'll
There. Hold
see.
it up higher. Hold it up higher.
Higher? Okay.
Okay. Go.
Sorry, Houston, you're going to spell high. Is that high enough?
Okay. Start from the beginning. Yeah.
Right. So.
E. N. G. I. N. E. Okay. Turn the lights up so Houston can see. Let Houston see everybody.
Yeah, I want him to see everyone.
Turn the lights up so Houston wants to say hi to everybody.
You're amazing, bro.
There you go.
You are amazing, dude. You're amazing.
Mhm.
So anyway, if anyone would like to talk to him or ask him a question.
Yeah, does anybody have a question? Come on up. We gotta wrap it up quickly, but yeah, come on. Here, come over here where we can see you. Can you turn the light up so we can see her a little bit on here? Here, hold on, let me just, there we go.
Hi, Houston. It's nice to meet both of you. This isn't really a question. I'm just thinking about how overwhelmed I am by all this stuff coming at me. And I can not imagine, but I empathize that it must be really, really exhausting to have all that stuff coming at you off.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing.
Anybody have a question? Suzanne?
Hi guys, hi Houston.
Come down so you can see your face.
Hi, Houston.
Hi.
I have a bizarre question. Years ago, I told my daughter that somebody I knew from work, mother passed away. She said her mother's name, and she doesn't know her. How is that possible?
Oh, here we go.
Can you see? I'll call it out.
Say the letters that he said, okay?
I-S-E-E-I-C
Hold on.
P-E-O-P-L-E, people. W-H-O, who? H-A-V-E, have. D-I-E-D. I
see
people who have died.
Houston, do you know their names? Do you know their names?
Yes.
Wait,
I-C-A, and I can, sorry, I can. T-A-L-K, talk. S-O-N-E-T-I-M-E-S, sometimes. T-O-2-T-H-E-M. I can sometimes talk to them.
Thank you, Houston.
Oh, boy. Okay, here. Hold on.
Houston. I lost my grandmother 2 weeks ago. I just want to know if you know if my grandfather's okay. I lost him 2 nights ago.
What's his name?
Jiddu.
I'm sorry.
Jiddu.
Spell it.
Sam. Sam.
I can
Hold on.
ask. I can ask Jesus.
All right, I know. Okay. There's Martha. Listen, he's not a psychic, guys. Okay, he's not. He doesn't just walk around like seeing dead people. Okay, I just thought
I should have tried. Hi, Houston. Great job. My name is Martha, and I lost a very handsome, good-looking man like yourself, and I miss him dearly. Could you tell me, if you can, how he's doing? And his name is Billy? Did you understand?
he understands you.
Oh, no, I wonder if he heard me.
Oh yeah, no,
Because of
yeah,
the
yeah.
volume.
He's answering you.
Have to ask. May
Have to ask.
I
May I?
see his
Picture.
Oh.
Somebody wants to see?
Oh,
I don't know. Wait. Let me see what he's saying.
picture? May I
Yeah.
see his picture?
Yeah, let's get a picture of Billy. Mhm. Let me see if I can. Yeah,
With the glasses on.
that's him with the hoodie and the glasses.
It
Oh.
went off. It went off.
Here.
With the glasses on. He has the glasses on.
Yeah. I know he kind of looks a little like Houston, right?
Yes, he does. Just like Houston.
H I
Yes.
his
Angels.
his angels. Could y'all hear him? He actually said it.
He said his angels, hold on,
Are in
are in
the
Picture.
his angels are in the picture.
his angels are in that picture.
Oh, precious.
Mhm.
Great
Then.
news. They belong to the. He's actually speaking. I don't know if y'all can hear him.
Sorry. Yeah.
He'll say, she'll repeat it.
Father.
Father, you said great news.
Yes.
His angels belong to the Father.
You know where he's at.
My husband's with him in heaven. My husband is with him right now in heaven. Oh my God. I got to go.
Okay.
Houston, thank you so much. That was a gift that you just gave to me, and I bless you.
No, stop. No. Okay, all right. Listen, okay.
You're amazing.
Okay, now everybody wants to ask questions. Yeah, not related to death, please. Okay. Come on, get the next question.
Hi, Houston. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
All right, so I am studying to get my art therapy license, and I'm gonna be doing art therapy with special needs students. And a lot of them are on the spectrum. So my question is, so art therapy is a way for them to communicate. And if I was to do art therapy with somebody with on the spectrum, such as yourself, what kind of art should I do, or would you recommend? So there's a lot of things. It could be painting, clay, all that stuff.
So
Whatever.
many of us want to do art. You just have to coach OUR. You just have to coach our motor.
Just have to coach their motor, is that what we said?
Mhm.
Coach their motor.
Yeah, he said
Yeah,
so many of
work
us
on the
want to
motor.
do
Right.
art. You just have to coach our many art.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
All TYPES. All types.
All types of art.
do
All types. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we could go on all night here because he could tell you what your aura looks like. Okay, he sees the colors. Okay, there's so much that we could do. Well, we just have to have her back again. Okay, but I wanted her. I didn't want people to think, oh, this is all like Looney Tunes and fake and blah blah blah. So I wanted her to really focus on all the scientific, things and all the doctors and specialists that you've been to and all the things that she's learned. Okay. The last question that I want to ask Houston that somebody just said gave me is, Houston, what advice would you give to parents of their kids with autism?
Sit up. Can you see?
Yes.
I'm gonna try and hold it up. There. Okay. That's no reflection, right? Can you see? THEVMOST, the most. IMPORT, the most important. THING, the most important thing. ALWAYS, always. Can y'all still see? No, you gotta sit back. The most important thing always is BELIEVE, always believe. YOUR, your. CHILDREN, the child I S is INTELLECT. The most important thing, always believe your child is in there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, we have,
She sent me 6 of her books signed by Katie and Houston. Martha already grabbed one before I could even. They want to buy them, Katie. So.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so how can we handle that with you?
All right, I'm going to show you. Super
Okay.
easy. If you get out your phone and you go to Amazon.
Are we gonna
Trying
get
to
a
find
slide?
yes. Okay.
Amazon. That's
Okay.
Amazon, I
All
promise.
right, that's the buy. So the 6 copies you have here, what do you want me to do with those?
Well,
Are
you
you
had told me
gonna-
that you had done like
I can't hear you.
well, you had told me that you had asked like who was recent, like last year you had done something like who was recently diagnosed or who,
Oh,
it can
right.
be, I definitely want, there was one woman that you told me about that was, her heart was really breaking. And I definitely want her to have one.
That's everybody.
She had written you a letter. Is everybody write her a letter?
Okay.
These are gifts. These are free. Okay, who is crying over this? Like, who wants to know? Oh, come on. Two left. There's 2 left. Okay. Stacy?
I'm gonna get mine signed.
Amazon. You can't get a signed one, but you can get a book off of Amazon. I don't know what to tell you. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Ask, Houston, we're gonna ask Houston. Okay. Yeah, Houston will tell you who should have it. All right, all you guys that want him, come stand behind me so Houston can see you and let him. Come on, let's go.
Oh, that's so wrong.
Okay, there's 2 left. Okay. Okay, you're gonna get so. Oh my goodness.
I want them all to have it. I mean,
Okay.
oh my gosh, there's no way.
You're gonna have.
All right, let me ask you a question. So whose child are all of you, is your child non-speaking or unreliably speaking?
My daughter will.
That's
the first question. My daughter will label things, but she doesn't really communicate. She just labels things, stuff like that, but she doesn't like ask anything that she wants.
Okay, anyone else who's non-speaking or unreliably speaking?
All right, you guys. You gotta, all right, come on down here. We gotta pick one of you guys first. That's what, yeah. Well, there's a couple of those. Let's pick one from this group and one from the other group.
Okay, well, all right. Well, Houston, I mean, I don't know. Who do you want to give it to? That's horrible. I want to give it to all of you.
Yeah, he's picking up.
One. And two.
Yeah.
5. Gray. Is someone wearing gray?
Gray? Yes, you. Later.
Yes.
Yeah, later, yes.
Said you.
Okay. All right, good. Okay. The non-verbal people, okay? That's me. Okay. That's it. You're the only non-verbals? You come on. Oh, yeah. Okay, get in there. All right, you got 3 from this group.
Okay, what is this group?
Pardon? Oh, hold on, we got another one coming in. Hold on, there's a 4th one coming in.
Houston, turn around.
Oh, I don't have my name tag.
Yeah, it's Heather.
Essie, Marianne,
Joanne.
Essie, Marianne, Joanne, or Amanda.
And all of y'all have kids that are non-speaking?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you all need one.
No,
Mary Ann?
Okay, all right.
But honestly, all of you guys, like, I mean,
Thank you. We'll buy them.
okay.
I told the parents, so I don't know where they went. They're in the refrigerator. Okay. I told them to be in there. So there's a refrigerator, there's a kitchen all the way down the end, there's a refrigerator. they're both there. Okay, listen. All right, well, we have to wrap this up. Everybody say goodbye to Katie in Houston. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us.
And just FYI, my aura is green with a little bit of red in the middle. But he told me that, right?
It's very beautiful.
Okay, so it means I'm connected to the earth, but the red is
The red is
like
power.
power, leadership, that type of thing. Yes. Okay. No.
All right, no one's shocked by that,
Not
right?
a good thing. That's a little too bossy. So I'm trying to.
And yes, by the way, in the book, Houston does explain what each of the auras mean.
I can't say repeat that.
He does explain what each of the auras mean in the book. So that is in
Yes.
there.
Correct. Yes, he explains what the different colors mean in the book. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you. I'm gonna turn this off now. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Katie.
Sure
Thank
thing.
you,
Bye-bye.
Houston. Okay, bye-bye. And okay.